I really started seeing the Dead in '77 when I really knew what was going on and started taking psychedelics and getting really into it.
It's definitely that's definitely a year a lot of people wish they started seeing the Dead for sure.
It was luck of the draw. I mean, I still consider myself born 10 years too late because sure, I would have loved to have been in the Haight Ashbury in the Haight in 1965.
Yeah, of course. Oh yeah, you were too
But
late, man.
but 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 I'll take it. But I'll take it.
What's up, folks? Welcome back to the Best Show Ever podcast, the podcast where I interview people about the best shows they have ever seen in their lives. I'm your host, Cam Herdt, and today we are talking with a guy who has seen some of the coolest shows of all time, especially in the world of the Grateful Dead and Pearl Jam. We are talking to the program director and host over at channels 22 and 23 on SiriusXM radio. Sirius heads already know what those channels are. That's Grateful Dead and Pearl Jam radio. We're talking with Rob Bleetstein today. Rob is a guy who is a Bay Area dude who I see at stuff all the time. I was hoping to get a chance to eventually speak with him because he is a dude who has archived and cataloged and curated some of the greatest live moments of any shows that I enjoy. And Rob was actually there for a lot of these. And so Rob is not only involved over at Pearl Jam Radio and Grateful Dead Radio as their host and program director, he is also the archivist for the New Riders of the Purple Sage. If you have looked up any New Riders of the Purple Sage audio, if you've purchased a New Riders of the Purple Sage vinyl that's come out recently, there's brand new pressings out right now that Rob has been that Rob will showcase in this episode, just so you know. Rob was in charge of that. And in the world of cataloging music, especially live music, chatting about live music, and curating it for folks, Rob has been doing this for decades. And so that's what we're trying to do over here on this podcast. We are trying to catalog the live music experience. We're trying to just talk about it, capture what it feels like when you're at a show, get those feelings and thoughts and takes onto a podcast or a show or whatever you want to call this, so that we can go back to it later and check it out. That's why I'm doing those recaps. I want my first thought, after these massive weekends of music. And Rob still has a crystal clear look into some of the coolest shows of all time, including at venues that we are not allowed to go check out anymore, like Winterland. We cover Winterland Ballroom pretty extensively on this episode. Rob was able to see some Grateful Dead shows there, and one of those being the closing of Winterland. So obviously, we had to chat a little bit about that, and we chat about the transition of being a Deadhead into finding Pearl Jam in the early 90s, going to their first tour of the U.S., two of their first shows ever on an official tour here in San Francisco and in Berkeley. Rob was there. And just what that looks like, going from the Grateful Dead, which is open and free and hippies and chill, into Pearl Jam, which is maximum overdrive, crunchiness, era-defining grunge rock, a lot more climbing of speakers and such like that. Actually, I think Bobby did a little bit of climbing of some speakers in the 80s. I think he got up there. Either way, Rob was there for some of the coolest Dead shows. He was there for some of the greatest Pearl Jam shows and some of the early ones. And getting to talk with him was truly an honor. And so definitely check this episode out here. And I'm going to get out of the way of this intro in a second so we can hear from Rob. But we've also got a lot of new subscribers on the podcast from some of these recaps of the final weekends here of the summer. Thank you guys so much for subscribing. Thank you for going above and beyond. If you haven't done that yet and you've been listening, please consider subscribing on YouTube or rating it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, leaving a review. All of these things help out with the algorithm of it all. And so really helps. Thank you guys so much for subscribing. If you'd like to go above and beyond, there is a Patreon where these episodes come out early. You get them unedited. You get them raw without the intros and outros on there. It's $4 a month. And really what the Patreon is for is if you'd like to go above and beyond and support the podcast in that way. And so if you're doing that already, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Put some time and effort into this podcast, and so thank you for supporting the show. If you'd like to support for free, you can go ahead and just do the subscribe thing and the rating thing. That's enough of that. I don't do that enough, so I had to do that there. Please enjoy this interview with Rob. But first, here's a little bit of music from Loon.
Truly an honor to talk to you, because you're someone who has done what I'm just getting on my feet doing now. You've been doing it for decades, and so I can't wait to chat with you about shows.
Cool. Let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, any shows you've been seeing recently, like that really been blowing you away this summer? Before we kind of get into your show history.
Yeah, I've been on kind of a roll the last couple of weekends. Starting a couple weeks ago at Newport Folk Festival, which I've been doing regularly since 2018, and it's one of the greatest weekends ever. And this year was, every year's incredible, and this year was even more incredible. So that was great, and I had no time to recover from that, and then it was the whole GD60 thing in the park, and
Yeah.
that was an incredible weekend on so many different levels. And then I found myself back in Colorado last week, seeing My Morning Jacket at Red Rocks and that Dillon Amphitheater, which is a beautiful spot. And hadn't been back to Colorado since before the pandemic, so it was great to be back there, and especially back at the Rocks.
Yeah, absolutely. A bunch of my friends were just at Dillon Amphitheater for Dogs in a Pile, and it just looked beautiful. Just looked like such a great scenic setting.
Yeah, I'd seen the pictures for a while. I'm like, I got to get there. And then the Jacket had these run of shows and friends from all over coming in, so I was like, yeah, I'll do that.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll be at MMJ Friday, the Greek here.
Friday night.
You'd be there?
I'll see you there.
Sounds good. All right, that's the interviews. Yeah. Talk to you later. Well, no, that's great. Yeah, I mean, it's been a really great summer for me as well. I'm finally winding down, and so I got time to talk to folks about music instead of going to see some music. To get into your concert going experience, it's going to be really hard to capture just all of it in this hour here, but we can start off with what your first show was. What was the first show you ever saw in your life?
Well, that's kind of hard to. My first rock concert was the Grateful Dead at Nassau Coliseum a month before my 12th birthday.
Wow.
So I look at that as my first rock concert. But before that, as a kid, like, my family would vacation in Florida where my grandparents lived, and we'd go to the Diplomat Hotel, and I remember seeing, like, the Osmonds and Sammy Davis Jr. and the
Nice.
Liza Minnelli and just shit like that. So I know that was in there before 1973 when I saw the Dead, even though I didn't really know what I mean. I was just getting into it as a kid. I was, I knew Ramble on Rose. They didn't play it. That's all I knew. And my biggest takeaway from my first Dead show was, like, there's the PA, there's the size of the PA. It wasn't wall sound, but it was building up to the wall sound. And
yeah,
I was immediately struck by that. I didn't know that they had a woman in the band, Donna Jean. I didn't know that. And the amount of people that were getting arrested for smoking pot was like,
yeah, of course,
that was a lasting memory too.
Wasn't quite as universally accepted as it is now, but I mean,
well,
I think
it was pretty Gestapo back there.
Yeah,
back then
had to be pretty sneaky. But I kind of think about that all the time with the Dead. They have now, within all of the different music that has happened since they've started, they are a little bit more of like the Americana and folk leaning type of band, but they are the band that came out with the biggest sound system. They had the loudest show, which is extremely rock and roll.
Yeah, I mean, they've always been leaders, forebearers of, everything technological and advancing. Their sound and their music has always been a priority to them from day one with Owsley.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, we always think about them as the truest Americana, band within, I mean, maybe the truest American music experience there is. But they were also at their time, at their peak, were pushing technology forward pretty hard. So that had to be cool to
Yeah,
watch live.
yeah. I mean, I didn't get to see the Wall of Sound, but sure would love to.
Hey, same.
I didn't really get back in. I really started seeing the Dead in '77 when I really knew what was going on and started taking psychedelics and getting really into it.
It's definitely that's definitely a year a lot of people wish they started seeing the Dead for sure, me included.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely as luck of the draw. I mean, I still consider myself born 10 years too late because sure, I would have loved to have been in the Haight Ashbury in the Haight in 1965.
Yeah, of course. Oh yeah, you were too
But
late, man.
but I'll take it. But I'll take it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I've also, heard you speak about your first experience seeing Pearl Jam and how electric that was here in the Bay Area, at the Warfield, for their Versus tour. I mean, gotta have
Yeah,
you
that
talk a
was
little bit about that show.
sure. I mean, that was a complete. I just started getting into it, and my good friend Dave Rep was working at Bill Graham Presents at the time, and took me to the show, and we sat front row loge, and I can't say I knew any of the music really. I was just getting it, just starting to listen to them. Um, and I couldn't believe the energy coming off the stage and watching that mosh pit below me. And then when I found out they were playing 3 nights later at the Greek, I was like, I got to go see this again. And it was a completely different show, and the energy was through the roof. And they encored with Bob O'Reilly and Fucking Up, and I'm like, these guys are completely talking to me. I'll go wherever. Then I
Yeah,
went and saw a couple more shows, and I was like, all right, that's it. I'm on the road with
yeah.
these guys.
These are it. Yeah. I mean, how did that feel going into that as a Deadhead? Do you feel like there were other Deadheads there checking that out? It's a completely different energy, but you know,
It's a totally different energy and music and everything. They get compared a lot because of the way they deal with their fans and business and stuff like that, and I get that, and it's a great thing. But and there's a certain element of Deadheads that gets the Pearl Jam thing, and a whole bunch that don't, like friends I grew up with. They can handle the acoustic ones, the more mellow ones, but you play them a song like Lucan or one of Pearl Jam's punkers, and they're not there.
yeah,
So it just depends on your taste.
yeah, definitely.
But
That
in terms, but if you're looking to tour with a band that doesn't play the same show every night, you know, as far as now, and it's without a doubt they're one of the greatest rock and roll bands ever to set foot on a stage. It's like even now, 30 some odd years later, they're still killing it.
Yeah, of course. And another comparison to draw is they themselves were a blueprint for a ton of other bands that were doing their darndest to try to be Pearl Jam in the 90s, and the Dead did the same thing,
Yeah,
created this whole entire ecosystem of bands who wanted to, you know, try to do something like they were doing in the jam band world that wasn't there before.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. No, that kind of comparison's been in my head a lot coming off this King Giz run here. You see some Fish fans in the crowd at the King Giz festival that are totally down for this, metal streak that they'll get on, or, anything else weird that they do. But there are definitely some of my Fish fan friends that are like, I have no idea how to access this, man. Like, this is not my thing at all. And so I'm sure there was kind of a similar back and forth, with your Deadhead buddies when you started getting into Pearl Jam in that day.
Well, some of them were like, "Oh, you just need something to obsess over." I was like,
You're like, and
I found a good one.
sorry, man. Yeah. You know, in talking about first shows, we also get to talking a little bit about worst shows, and you don't have to put down any act at this point if you don't want to. But do you have a worst show that you ever saw in your life, like a worst concert experience?
I saw in your outline that you were going to ask this, so I had to think hard, um, and I narrowed it down between two acts. They both happen to be ones I saw opening for my morning jacket,
Oh wow.
and we narrowed it down. And yeah, I don't want to be a hater on anybody, but yeah, just there was one act that let's see, It's a 2-word band. It begins with a T and it ends with an S. And I just didn't get it.
Yeah,
And
no.
I thought it was, and not only did I not get it, it was like, wow, this is kind of painful. So,
Yeah.
it happens.
It does happen. And listen,
And
sometimes
I'm sure they're popular and they've got their fans and that's all good. And they're obviously doing fine without me.
that's a nice way to put it, that you didn't get it.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I
about
mean,
that.
that's just it. Yeah. I mean, I've taken people to Pearl Jam shows who weren't blown away. And I'm like, okay, what's your deal?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Luckily, Friday for My Morning Jacket, this band Melt that is opening up for them.
I love them.
Fantastic.
Again,
Yeah, they're
I
awesome.
never heard a note. And another band I can put an example to that is Mount Joy, who were at the
Yeah.
Greek on Saturday. I got invited to see them last year, and I decided, you know what? I'm not even going to pull up a song. I'm going to go completely cold.
Hell yeah.
And I went, I dug the vibe. I could understand everything they were singing about, and I could understand what they were saying. And their whole vibe was great. Their audience was great. I'm like, and then I find out the guy's a Deadhead, and I think they did I Know You Rider at that show,
Okay,
or
cool.
something. And I'm like, I'm in. I just got to see him again at Newport and got to see more of a show, and now I'm ready for a full experience on Saturday, where it's an evening with at the Greek.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, they kind of do have that crossover vibe. You wouldn't consider them in the jam band realm or anything, but they have those influences for sure, and they certainly like to dip their toe into the dead world if they can, like people do in San Francisco, But I'm sure it's cool to
Yeah,
see them.
it's always appreciated.
Got to play a little
You
China
know,
Cat or something like that if you're in in the
yeah,
band.
especially when it's authentic and you feel it.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. And I'm new to the My Morning Jacket thing, so um I know their music. I haven't done a super deep dive. But I actually know more of Mel's music than I know of My Morning Jacket at this point, if I can out myself. And so I'm
Wow.
yeah. They know one of the guys in the band's or one of the girls in the band, her boyfriend is a friend of mine, a guy who I've interviewed on the podcast, and so I've gotten super acquainted in that way. And yeah, we saw them recently
So,
at the
so is
Cornerstone,
that
and they were fantastic.
oh wow. So is that the guitar player or the singer?
The guitar player, yeah,
Okay.
Marlo Shank,
Yeah, they
she's fantastic.
yeah, they had a total great vibe. That girl Veronica has a great
Oh
voice.
yeah,
Um you know, and then at the Dylan show, yeah, My Morning Jacket opened with Golden,
oh
one
yeah,
of their
right.
bigger and favorite songs, with her duetting. So it was like great.
Yeah, and My Morning Jacket has been cool for having a lot of different bands open for them, and so of course, hey, some of them aren't going to be total hits with you. Whatever, that's the case. But
Yeah,
some of them roll.
for yeah, for years they've been turning me on to good people. I know Nicole Atkins because I first heard of her opening for My Morning Jacket ages ago, and
Yeah,
she's incredible. And you know, I think I first saw a Band of Horses because they opened for them, and on and on and on.
yeah, yeah. I mean, speaking of openers, speaking of bands that came alongside another great band, you are also the archivist for the New Riders of the Purple Sage. Um,
I am, and I just so happen to have right here one of the one of my most proudest moments in recent productions is this Lyceum 72 that was mixed by Jeffrey Norman off the 16 track master out of the vault. And it's probably one of the best releases you can have. It's the New Riders opening for the Dead the last night of Europe 72 at the Lyceum in London.
one of
And
the
I
most famous
suggest everyone go
shows.
out.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
So everyone, 52672 right here. So go out and pick up this
And
beautiful looking package.
there's a lot of people who think they're heady because they got some European or Europe 72 vinyl, but you don't have the New Riders of the Purple Sage Europe vinyl yet. So
Yeah. Yeah. And then you can go get the most recent one, the Hempstetter, which is from a 1976 concert and comes on some some green vinyl right here.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Gotta love the green vinyl, of course.
Well, it's kind of got a little theme here, as you can see on the cover.
I was gonna say that works great for a rolling tray as well. Roll up some grass and listen to some fucking new writers for sure.
There you go. Yeah. I've been their archivist for 30 plus years, and I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you if it wasn't for that band, because I came into the whole Grateful Dead thing kind of through the back door, all because of the New Riders, which basically changed my life when I was 10 years old.
Yeah, I mean, were you able to you catch them live?
Oh yeah, many times. I saw my first New Riders show when I was 12. It was the first night I got high.
Wow.
I wound up not going to school the next day because I was really high. um, and yeah, they were my band for a long. They still are my band, but they were my number one band for a long, long time, especially growing up.
Oh, it's incredible. And yeah, and to have an experience like that, I mean, that's gonna change your whole trajectory of your life, you know, at 12 years old, seeing a band like that and getting high. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and yeah, but basically, I kind of heard them when I was 10 years old through a friend's older sister, and it was the first pedal steel guitar I ever heard, and I just somehow it did something up here, and I was like, I don't know what that is, but whatever that is, I'm going where that's taking me.
Oh yeah, what a
So
sound that is. Yeah, that's such a classic story. I feel like that's how my dad found Pink Floyd is from his buddy's older sister, you know, or something like that. That's just like, you know, the cool older girl with the cool music taste in the 70s that made
yeah,
everybody
I
else
mean,
cool.
yeah, and that's how I wind, that's how I wind up at that Dead show in 1973. It was like the first day of junior high school. Everyone's older brothers and sisters are going. My older brother was going, so it was like, all right, you can't tell me I can't go to a concert now.
Yeah, right. Right, exactly. I mean, what was the scene like there? Do you remember, were you like afraid or were you excited or what was going on at that 73 show?
I was excited because there was a rumor that the New Riders might open,
Yeah,
but that didn't happen. Oh yeah, I was really waiting on that.
real
And
bummer.
no, my biggest takeaway from that show was I remember waiting in line to go in, and I just I'll never forget how many people were getting dragged out by cops. And I also remember at the break walking around and seeing some hippie on the floor who was telling us how this concert sucked and the Allman Brothers were so much better. I'll never forget that guy.
Sounds
I
like
don't
my
remember
dad.
much else that night, but I still have I still have the t-shirt and the patch that I got that
Oh
night
my
from
God.
there.
That's priceless. I mean, these days that is
Yeah,
priceless.
yeah. Archivist is a kinder word for hoarder.
Yeah, right. Well, someone's got to keep track of this stuff, so, you know.
Yeah.
Um, it is, I'm sure, just very difficult to pick your best show ever. So, I mean, are there any honorable mentions that you would be remiss not to bring up on the show? It may not be the best
Well,
of.
yeah. Yeah, so there's basically, and I guess we're in Grateful Dead world now, so it's gonna be in that world.
Fair enough.
So I have to obviously mention Englishtown, New Jersey, 9377.
Wow.
That was basically like my Woodstock,
Yeah.
my generation's Woodstock for those. I'm 15. I'm with all my friends. It was the first time I took LSD.
Yeah.
It was also, I had the New Riders, Marshall Tucker. It was just the whole experience. We were down there like a day and a half ahead of time. We were the first 50 people through the gate. Where this guy shows up the night before with a huge, giant sheet of perforated, sealed pharmaceutical quaaludes. So doing that the night before, we had our own cases of Heineken. It was just, you know,
As good as it gets.
bedlam in the bedlam in the best way. And
Yeah.
it was, it was 100 degrees that day. And I don't remember, and we were like, we're like 20 feet from the stage. We're right up there. I don't recall ever leaving. And I still have to this day, I have 3 t-shirts from that event. I'm like, how'd I get home with these? How'd they not? I don't remember being in any mud. People were talking about mud near the bathrooms. I'm like, I don't know if I ever left my spot,
Yeah.
where we were. I just, and to this day, it's still my favorite version of He's Gone ever.
Yeah.
And it was just a great, great, great experience. And then my second, and this was the hardest choice ever because my whole life basically has revolved around the evening of 12/29/77 at Winterland, which is also known as Dick's Picks 10.
Yeah.
And that was it was my seventh Grateful Dead show, but my first one in Winterland and my first one in San Francisco.
Man.
And it was a completely life-changing event that night, fueled on by some really strong chemicals. And it's a book in itself what happened that night. So
I
you can
mean,
listen to it.
we can, yeah, I was gonna say we can talk a little bit about that that night just to crack into it. But I mean, tell me about that room. You know, that's not somewhere where we can see music anymore. And you know, what was that like in there? Like to see the Dead in that room?
The greatest thing ever. I had an obsession that started with Winterland before I was even in the place.
Yeah.
Through the Grateful Dead movie, essentially,
Right.
because that came out in June of '77, and after seeing it in New York City like a day or so after the premiere, it started running at the Mini Cinema in Long Island where I grew up and was in high school, and it was every Friday or Saturday night at midnight. So I'm seeing it like every week. And then in July of '77, me and one friend took a trip to San Francisco, just the two of us with nothing but traveler's checks and drugs in our pockets. And people ask, your parents let you down? Like, it was just a different time. It's all I can
Yeah.
tell people. It's like, missing kids weren't on milk cartons. Your parents were like, yeah, go get away from me, do whatever you want to.
Yeah, it's like Seinfeld said, before kids
So
was special.
it's just a different time, a different thing, a different. So anyway, we're wandering around San Francisco as total little punks. We're lucky we didn't get our heads handed to us in certain
Yeah.
situations, but and this is great. We get on a bus and we're going down to Winterland because we need to check it out. And I remember this woman on the bus warning us, like, you better watch your ass down there. Because I guess it may not have been the best part of town at that point in time.
Right.
And so we go to Winterland and there's no show happening, but we are just banging on the door relentlessly. And then finally somebody came and opened the door and we're pleading our case. Like, we have to just see the inside. Please let us in. We just got to see it for a minute, And sure enough, he let us in. We're walking around. I took a couple of pictures, and the big Skull and Roses banner was hanging. I think a Bette Midler banner was hanging next to it, or it might have been the Stones. One of the two. I have to look at the photos.
Yeah.
And I just got to see it, and then I got to make my return in December of that year in '77 and see the first shows. So again, my first set experience there was a complete freak out, bad trip. Like, couldn't handle it. Was not on the rail against the stage, but the person behind that person. Like, okay, so you're in line in Winterland all day. The doors open at 5. We get in. We're right up front. We sit down. We take this acid, which was probably a little too much at the time. And it's the show don't start for another 3 hours. By the time they get on stage at 8 o'clock, we're fucking losing it.
Flying.
And flying. And the crowd, I mean, it is like East Coast Dead shows were nuts in '77, like in Rochester and Binghamton, and even the first Jerry Garcia band show I saw at CW Post on Long Island. It's like the crowds just,
Full force.
they're lucky no one got killed at these shows. I mean,
Yeah, right.
because it's those dangerous crowd situations where you're getting lifted off your feet and you're wondering how you're going to breathe. So
Yeah.
it wasn't good. So anyway, I'm with my buddy Al Winnick. We're both losing it. Shit's falling out of our pockets, and I'm looking up. It's like I've got this amazing Bob Minkin photo right here from that night at 12/27. I didn't know him at the time, but he was not very far away from me, taking these amazing photos.
Oh.
And I look right up at it, just like I was looking up at Jerry from the same point. I'm looking up, losing my shit, going, help me. And he goes, dude, I can't help you, man. Not that he didn't do that, but it's just like that kind of thing. Like, he's not going to save your ass at this moment.
Yeah, right.
No one is.
He's got a job to do. No one is.
Yeah, no one is. You and your buddy are on your own. So anyway, we retreated. We could not handle being up front. We were losing our shit. And the whole first set, we were just wandering around. I remember running it, Blue Coat telling us we can't stand here till Mama tried. I remember Loser walking around. I remember being in the lobby getting a soda during Looks Like Rain, and we're going, should we leave? It's like, no.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget this. I'm like standing there with a giant Coke, and you're in the back of Winterland. You can still hear it great, and like we're sitting there like trying to get our shit together, and I just hear Garcia's just like wailing on this Looks Like Rain, and I'm like, I hear that, and I'm like, I look at Al, I take a hit of the Coke, I go, oh fuck it, we gotta go back in there.
We gotta
and I
stay.
throw the Coke in the garbage, and we go back in, but then finally at the break with some lights coming on and some mellower people just chilling out a little bit, we went upstairs, and the balcony saved our ass, basically.
Yeah, good. Yeah, sometimes it's good to retreat.
And then for the second set, found this amazing spot in the first section, right on the side, looking right down on them, looking right over Garcia, and had that whole experience of that second set. And then when they break in the China Cat and bring it back for the first time in 3 years, you're like, you're so fucking high. You're like, oh my God, they knew we came this far, and they played this for us.
Exactly. It's all about you in that moment.
Sure, kid.
Yeah.
Sure, kid. Take another hit.
It's all about you in that moment. They did it just for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and
anyway,
that
second set was completely life changing, and to this day, that whole experience that night was, that's the good thing. Is some of like best and worst acid trips go hand in hand, and they're like little movies that somehow are still in my brain.
Well, we talk about that all the time, that most people's best show ever stories end up having some level of tension and release, or conflict and resolution, or something went bad before it went really good, and when you wouldn't have gone through that, if it hadn't, and I think anyone can relate to, if you've had that psychedelic experience of being at a venue, being like, should I go? Should I maybe shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Maybe this isn't where I should be, but that's the only place you should have been. Jerry Garcia was in the room playing. Where else would you possibly have been that was better for a guy who was on too much acid than that room?
Yeah. And then but as we morph into my great, what I had to pick one of the two. It was either 1229 or the closing Winterland the year after, and that was, for me, there was no conflict that night. It was a complete night of absolute bliss. It was one of the greatest trips ever, and in multiple respects of the word. I didn't, and that was the thing, at 12/29/77, we brought our own LSD with us from back east, and that was probably the mistake. We should have opted for something in San Francisco, which happened at the closing Winterland, because we're in line all day, and right as we're walking in, this guy had a little thing of purple window pane, and he was just breaking off these little pieces of it and put it in my hand. And I put it in my tongue, like as soon as I stepped into Winterland and they took my ticket, that thing hit my tongue, and my whole world melted into fucking nothing but bliss. And that was, like I said, that was the greatest LSD I've ever taken in my life. I can't really do that stuff anymore.
Yep.
But if someone could give me that and tell me it's going to be just like that night, I'd do it right now.
Man, that sounds fantastic. And I mean, you said, maybe you made the mistake of bringing your own acid the first time. Had the chance to take some good stuff in San Francisco.
Yeah, it just worked out. And then, to me, that show is just no complaints from here. It was just, to this day, it's still, I think, the greatest Scarlet Fire ever.
Yeah.
And and then, I mean, I got the new,
The thing is,
It
Rob,
starts with
I
that.
would love to know.
It starts with Animal House. I mean, they showed Animal House at 6 o'clock because
Excellent.
Belushi and Aykroyd were there. It's the Blues Brothers, and then the New Riders come on. I guess at probably 8 o'clock. Then the Blues Brothers, and not only was
Wow,
it the Blues Brothers, but we're talking Steve Cropper, Duck Dunn, Steve Jordan on drums, Paul Schaefer on keyboards, you know,
man.
Lou Marini and Alan Rubin on the horns, and Matt Guitar Murphy on guitar, and along with Steve Cropper. And it was, the greatest
And
band.
for my money, the greatest
And
comedic duo of all time. And
oh, absolutely. I mean, and those guys, and they were, I've got pictures of them on they were, coming to sound check. They're hanging out on the street and,
ah,
taking photos and stuff. It was just an incredible time, just the greatest day. And, you know, I love that show more than anything.
yeah, that's a celebration that you were going to remember for the rest of your life anyway. But all the other different little special accoutrements that came
Yeah,
along with it.
and that's just it too. I mean, the Dead come on at midnight. It starts with New Year's Eve with Bill Graham coming in on the joint. We had these unbelievable. We had first section on the side where we're super one of the first people in, or first 50 or 100 whatever, and had these amazing seats right on the side, and yeah, it was
And
just the
yeah,
first set was great. And, yeah, it was just an amazing night. And then the Thunder Machine with Ken Kesey and the Pranksters, and it just on and on. And then of course they pull out the Dark Star. It's not the greatest Dark Star of all time, but it was fucking Dark Star after so long. After screaming for it and pining for it for all these years, it's like, okay, the dream came true.
yeah. It's like if you were in the room that night, you know how excited people were to see that. Maybe if you're listening to the
Yeah,
recording right
and
now in 2025, it's not your favorite Dark Star, but that's one of those things where
yeah, it's
people are like,
just
yes.
yeah, it's just the emotion, and joy of it all.
Yeah, man. I mean that, like I said,
So
these are
and
nights that
then
people wish they had. Incredible to have seen that.
yeah, I mean, and thank God it's on. It was on TV and on the radio, and you know, and shout out to Christopher Hazard on YouTube, who has done like 50 revisions of it, but it's like more spectacular every time.
Yeah, it's
Love that.
perfect. I mean, I watch it
Yeah,
often. It's really great footage.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, yeah, and compared to the VHS that we had, 5 days after it, it's miraculous.
When it comes to remembering the event, and the Dead have recorded and have so many live recordings and videos of that time. Um, does that ever blend for you? Do you still remember your vision of the night? Do you still remember your um, feeling of the sound and all of that? Or because sometimes for me, I know I'm looking back at these recordings of shows and trying to remember where I was that night, what I was doing.
Yeah, absolutely, because the video definitely helps in some respects. But I had a very, I know my angle. It's
Yeah,
like we were if the Closing Winterland pans out and you see that camera on the house right side up towards the front, we were in the seat. We were right next to that camera, so
yeah,
it's like I know. I mean, I know my angle and everything, and I just remember all of it really well.
yeah.
Um,
it's a different thing to have the footage than
the,
then have the night.
yeah, and the interesting thing is, some of my friends who I was with, if you've ever seen that photo of when they're out there doing "We Bid You Good Night," which happened after they served breakfast, it could have been like an hour after they sort of ended. Bill was like, everyone could just hang out, do your thing, and then it was like the band came back way later on. Half the place was gone when they're doing that "We Bid You Good Night." It was pretty special. But there's a great photo of that, I believe, taken by Steve Schneider, taken from the back, where you see the back of them, and you see this whole crowd shot. And some my good friends who I was with, some of them are in that shot, and I'm like, well, where the hell was I right over there? I think I was actually collapsed on my seat from exhaustion from, just the whole thing. I think I stayed at my seat right at that for that one.
Yeah. I mean, and When you're
But again, I'll never forget. We stayed at the Jack Tar Hotel, which was on Van Ness, which has now been leveled and turned into a hospital.
right.
But I will never forget the walk back, and we didn't walk out of Winterland until like 9:30 in the morning.
It's crazy.
And I'm wearing cowboy boots, and I will never forget the pain of walking back from Japantown in the Fillmore to Van Ness to go to the hotel. It was like, wow, I'm pretty spent.
I was gonna say, I don't want to hear anyone complaining at shows nowadays that are done at 11 and you got your Hokas on. It's basically like Tempur-Pedic for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and having those kind of memories and having those sort of shows, like, did you feel like when you started to see Pearl Jam, were there nights that you're like, man, this is a movement or this is something that, feels like a similar energy? Obviously, you were a different man by the time you started seeing Pearl Jam. You're not a kid anymore, getting blown away by stuff in the same way. But
Well, parts of me still are the 15-year-old kid who gets blown away by certain bands. But
kind of have to
I'd
be.
have to say, so the Pearl Jam thing, and it's this poster that's sort of right behind me here, that one right there, that blue one at the piano there. That's from that first tour, and that was my whole thing. I walk at the Berkeley Creek, the second Pearl Jam show I ever saw. I'm leaving the show, and I stop at the merch, and I'm buying this poster. And on this poster, the very beginning, it's got all the tour dates. The first dates are October 28th, San Francisco, and then 31. It goes on and on. And so this is October 31. It's Halloween at the Greek. I'm buying this poster, and the whole tour ends. It says December 7th through 9, Seattle. And right then and there, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm supposed to see the Dead in LA and San Diego. And
Uh-oh.
this is 1993. And I buy this poster, and right then I'm like, fuck it, those guys are done. I gotta go see this
Man,
guy. I gotta go see these guys in their
man.
hometown before they're too fucking big. So I go home, I get on the internet. It was pretty early internet stuff then, but I find out about these shows. I find out when it's going on sale. I score some tickets for the one of the 3 nights, but I make plans. Good friend of mine had just moved from New York out to Seattle, lived actually 2 blocks from the key from Seattle. It's called this. Oh, well, he lived, yeah, right by the Seattle Center. That's what
Yeah,
I'm getting at. Anyway, so I go do this. I blow off those Southern Cal 1993 Dead shows and go to Seattle and see Pearl Jam. And that was the middle night was December 8th of 1993, and it was the anniversary of John Lennon's assassination.
mm,
And Pearl Jam encores with "I've Got a Feeling," and I'm just like, and that night, that show, I'm standing right in front of the soundboard because I can't deal with the mosh pit scene.
sure.
A little too old for that.
Yeah,
Even
right.
if I was 15, I don't think I'd be in a mosh pit.
Yeah.
Um. Anyway, so that night was that night was it. That sealed the deal for me. I was like, I'll see these guys anywhere, anytime, as much as I possibly can, and proceeded to.
Started the changing of priorities in your life at that point.
Absolutely, yeah. But I had some hot and cold streaks with the Dead through the years anyway. Like by the end of 1982, I sort of had reached my I couldn't do. I was like, I can't watch this anymore. It was just,
Yeah,
between
what about
guard
the sound
between
had like changed, or like was there other things that were turning you on, or what kind of was it?
maybe Garcia's health and just general, just stuff. I was like, I can't watch this anymore. And I was like,
Yeah,
and the music wasn't really doing it for me. It was just, and it was really good. It was actually good for me because it just enabled me to get turned on to a lot of other stuff and
yeah.
see a lot of other music. And then when 1987 came around and Jerry, got healthy again and
Those
was
are incredible
back and super into. I went to the Dylan Dead show at the Meadowlands in New Jersey, and it was the first time I ever saw Jerry on a pedal steel, so that was a
Wow.
huge moment for me. And the whole thing was great. They were great with Dylan. They were great on their own, and it was so great. I wound up going. I was actually living in Nashville, Tennessee that year. I actually wound up coming out to Oakland and Anaheim seeing those shows. So I
Yeah.
was, and that was basically it. And after that, I was like, okay, he's back. I'm back. You
Right.
know?
Exactly. Yeah. You knew that you could trust the guy
Yeah.
with the show again. So that's
Well,
in
it was
80.
just like, yeah, it was like, hey, he's here to play. I'm here to listen.
Yeah, exactly. And 87 through 89 was some really, really good Dead. And so,
Was great stuff. And I also, really enjoyed the run with Hornsby in 90 and 91. I thought
yeah,
that
absolutely.
was, again, he just his inspiration playing with Bruce, the back and forth on so many songs was made it really great.
Yeah, yeah, it was a excellent era to be seeing the band. So that it just I keep drawing that comparison right now with the stuff that I'm so into. My dad's always like, you got to make sure you're seeing bands that are great right now. He's like, I know you love Fish, and I know you love seeing this Dead stuff and whatever, but he's like, there's music that you're missing that's happening. Like their careers are happening right. They're starting and things like
Yeah,
that.
and
So
you also you gotta go see these old fuckers too, because you
yeah,
never know, man. Especially and then there's hardly any real old school blues guys left, and you got to see them while you can. I mean, one of the first shows I ever saw in San Francisco when I got here in 1980 was Albert King at
yeah,
the Keystone.
fuck
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah, and that was something that my dad put a premium on through my childhood. Got to see BB King and Buddy Guy and Jeff Beck and Clapton and Steve
yeah.
Howe and uh, I've done a lot of that in my life though, and I continued that kind of into my. These are the people who I put priority on, because like you said, you never know when they're going to be around. But kind of got smacked around this weekend at the Giz Fest, knowing that this might be the band that I follow from here on out. Like they are just so interesting, so much fun, and like you said, it's a completely different energy than for me. I'm in the late '80s stage of late '80s dead stage of Fish. Like I get these guys at 60 years old that they're still playing shows that are really worth going to see, and I didn't get to do their prime. I didn't get to do the '90s. I was a baby, and so
Yeah.
but uh and I'm as grateful as I am to see them every single time. I'm so grateful. But now after this weekend, yeah, I kind of had my Pearl Jam December Seattle moment of shit. Like no matter what, if they want to do a festival like this, I'm prioritizing this for sure.
Great.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
and same thing. I would just want to make sure I'm still seeing these legends though. That it was great to be in the park and seeing Bobby and seeing Trey. Is he's still my you know hero in many respects. But yeah, this it's just been crazy to hear you walk through this Dead and Pearl Jam dance, because I feel like I've been doing the same exact thing with music right now. So
Yeah, I mean, and again, I like a lot of shit, and some things I like. People don't get at the beginning with it. I mean, I'm a through the New Riders and the Dead's country thing. I'm a major Americana country, alternative country. Have been my whole life. I mean, that's been my career basically. Aside from doing Dead and New Riders stuff.
yeah, I've
So
seen.
I see a lot of that. I've probably seen Emmylou Harris 100 times. I've probably seen Bruce Springsteen 100 times. I've probably seen Neil Young 100 times.
Yeah, right.
I don't know, or maybe not that much, but somewhere around that. I don't know. I
Yeah.
haven't, I haven't. The only other band I counted when Tom Petty unfortunately passed away, I had to look it up. I got to see how many times I saw Tom, and it was 77.
Wow.
So
I mean, hey, I don't know
I'm
anyone
grateful
who's
for
been
that too.
77. Tom Petty shows. Um, and I see that. I mean, I see you at shows all the time here in the Bay now, and there's excellent examples of artists that are still kind of getting their feet underneath them and starting their first tours. I saw you at Michaela Davis's show in San
Oh
Francisco.
yeah,
Speaking of pedal steel, I mean that the relationship between her and
yeah.
that pedal steel guy is fantastic.
Yeah, Kurt's great. Kurt's great,
Kurt's
and
up,
I love
outstanding.
their whole thing. She's fantastic. Just so unique, trucking around with that humongous harp and bringing this whole different sound. And she's got a beautiful voice, and yeah, really like them. There's so much great new music all over the place.
Yeah, and
Especially in
it's
that especially in that, not that they're in that Americana world, but in that Americana world, there's so much good stuff. Like, I don't know if anyone's seen Molly Tuttle or seen her play,
yeah,
or,
yeah,
obviously
yeah,
Billy Strings, and there's so much good stuff. I mean, that's just it. This whole other generation of kids that have been playing since they're 3 years old or whatever. And, um, like I worked with David Grisman for 6 years, late 90s, early 2000s. And, through, I've known Sam since he was like 8. And through that, I've known Alex Hargraves since he was 9, because he and
wow,
Sam and Dave Dog, they came down and they had a little had this little project called Pupville. And like he was this little master fiddler at 9 years old. So it's
yeah.
like, seeing him up there killing it with Billy every night, it's just an absolute joy to see.
Yeah, I remember being really
So
worried when I
yeah.
was a kid. I'd be going through my dad's ticket stubs and he's got Zeppelin and Queen and Rush and all these awesome acts in there. And I'm like, what am I going to see, Dad? Nickelback? Or like, what's going to, like, I got to go see boy bands or like, what's going to, like when I'm a kid in 1998, I was like, uh-oh, like, what am I going to see? And I feel like right now with the people who are around my age, I'm seeing some acts that could stand absolutely up with some of those acts from, a
Oh
decade that I
yeah,
hold
there's
very
no
high in
question.
regard.
Yeah, there's no question. There's a amazing generation of people making music right now.
Yeah, yeah. And it's good to be
And
obsessed, but it's also
and
good to like spread yourself out a little bit and see some other stuff.
yeah, I mean, I'm a, music junkie, concert junkie, so it's like, yeah. There's and especially living in the Bay Area, you really can't find a better spot to be to catch so much great music at any time. We've got the best venues, we've got great stuff.
Yeah. Been here for a year and I'm loving it. I'm loving being in this town. And all the venues are just
Yeah,
so legendary.
I mean, yeah, there's absolutely no shortage. And, like I said, between the Fillmore, the Great American Music, we have some of the most beautiful rooms in the whole world, you know.
Yeah, no
So
Winterland anymore, but there's still a couple rooms out here that are hold so much dead legacy. And so every time I'm in a place like the Warfield or Great American Music Hall or, Fox Theater in Oakland, because I'm over on this side of the bay, I'm kind of
and the
trying to
Greek
feel that
and the Greek,
vibration.
I mean, and the Greek,
Yeah, and the
it's like,
Greek in a big way. Yeah.
yeah, they're killing it. Another planet's really, stepped in and doing great stuff there.
Yeah, and cannot wait to get back into that space on Friday. It's been since 2023 that I was in there, but yeah, it's like an
Oh
untouched.
wow.
Yeah, it's been like an untouched. Like it's so funny. Like when you're walking into the Greek theater, there's the sign that says like renovation 1957. Like that was like the last time
Yeah.
they touched the place up. Like it's. I love places like that.
Actually another planet last year, or maybe it's 2 years now, but they redid the lawn
Oh
and made it
yeah, that's right.
way more accessible. I don't know if I don't think it's bigger, but it's just cleaner, more accessible, better slope, because that wasn't even really a lawn. It was like a little hill that you would fall down all the time.
It's like the little stretch of grass by your sidewalk or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was.
But
It,
again, one of the most spectacular venues there is. We're super lucky.
Yeah, very lucky, and even to be at the top of the hill there and to look out over the bay, I mean, it's just incredible view. And so, yeah, we're super lucky to be out here in the bay. Me and my fiance are going to make it work as long as we can. Yeah, I'm a comedian that doesn't pay
All
us that
right.
much, so. But
Yeah.
yeah, we've just been loving it out here.
Great. And where did you come here from?
We're both from Chicago, but we were living in LA before this. I was doing the comedy thing down there for a little while, and she's a nurse and took a contract up here in the Bay. So I was like, hey,
Oh, great.
I'm like, I'm down to head up there for a contract. We thought it was gonna be 3 months, but now we might stay here for the rest of our lives. So
All right. So what your hat is what is it's not the cat under the stars. What is that?
That's like the old Chicago Bears logo. So I got a thing for
Oh,
losers. And yeah, so it's like the Chicago Bears logo with the cats under the stars. It's from a guy Dome Swap is the if I can plug
okay.
his store. Yeah. And
Wow.
he's a guy from Wisconsin who is a Packer fan and he said I'll send you all the Chicago stuff because your team sucks and no one buys my shit. So just thought that was pretty funny.
That's great. That's great.
You sports guy? I didn't know. You,
And so yeah, I'm a hockey fan.
oh yeah,
I kind of gave up on the NFL a long time ago
sure.
and love baseball, but they're really fucking ruining that game.
Yeah, it's
Kind of pisses me off.
I like to tell
This
people that I'm
this
a White
fight.
Sox fan, but I haven't followed baseball since I was a kid. So
I mean, yeah, and I'm a Giant. I mean, that's just it. I'm a Giants fan, but I haven't been to a game this year, and I'm not following it. And it's like, but when you're when it's a different thing, when they're on top of the world, and all of a sudden you're
yeah,
there and you're winning 3 World Series in 5 years. That was the most insane fucking thing ever, and just to be a part of that was to experience that was amazing. That was truly
yeah.
amazing.
And that
Um,
I got to tell you, my folks are huge live music people, but we're maybe even bigger sports fans. And in the last year, we've traveled as a family for 2 Chicago Bear games. They came to LA to see, them where I was living at the time, and then we traveled to Arizona to see the Bears, where my brother was living at the time. And you know what? We had a lot more fun at the David Gilmour show than we did at any of those Bear games. And so we're like, we're only doing concerts as a family moving forward. They never lose.
well,
David Gilmour didn't lose
well,
that.
yeah, I grew up. I was a New York Islanders season ticket holder from 1973 to 1980. I saw them win their first Stanley Cup. So that's probably my greatest sports moment ever, to go with the greatest concert and best show ever.
Yeah.
Probably that Islander Cup win over the Flyers, right there that was it. I was like, okay, I won the cup. I can get the fuck out of Long Island now.
I'm sure everyone listening to this episode is expecting your sports takes on this. And so and to hear about, like, I bet they end up talking about the Islanders on this.
What's that? Well, I mean, I've spent more nights in the fucking Nassau Coliseum than a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, let alone from being there 3 nights a week for Islander games, is like I saw so many concerts there. I mean, Steve, and I'm a ticket stub collector too, and the fact that I don't have some of those early stubs really freaking pisses me off. Like, I
Yeah.
saw Stevie Wonder Intervisions tour front row at Nassau Coliseum.
Oh my God.
I saw the band in 1974 in the seventh row at Nassau Coliseum. I saw Deep Purple on the Burn tour at Nassau. I saw Eagles Hotel California at Nassau Coliseum. Just on and on and on. A lot of stuff.
Yeah. So
But
that's how.
did not see Led Zeppelin or Leonard Skinner there, and regret both of those.
Did you end up seeing Led Zeppelin though?
No.
Man.
It was weird. The Zeppelin thing, my cousin turned me on to Led Zeppelin when I was super young, and liked it. This is like probably Led Zeppelin 2 or 3,
Yeah.
and was liking it then. But by the time high school came around,
Such a deadhead.
Zeppelin and the Dead were on two separate sides of the tracks.
It really was
which
like
is which
a
is really
thing then.
fucking stupid. No, it's completely stupid, but it's like that's high school idiocy at its finest.
Yeah, my dad was like such a Zeppelin guy and he loved Rush and he loved that side of music and he was like, I could never be a deadhead. I'm like, what does that even mean? What are you
I
what
know,
are you
I
talking
know.
about?
It was like these social cliques almost. It's like,
Yeah.
those people have Zeppelin, and we've got, we're freaks over here smoking weed on the hill, and we've got the Dead.
Yeah, he was such a big Pink Floyd guy, and so Pink Floyd was such a big part of my life growing up, and I was like, I don't get why the Dead doesn't fall into this world. And for him, it was like it made complete sense, that the Dead and then Pink Floyd and Zeppelin would be separate entities, something like that.
Yeah.
Super weird. You guys were weird back
Yeah.
then. You guys were weirdos.
Like I said, it was fucking high school stupidity at its finest.
Okay, so that was my interview with Rob. Excellent conversation. Very cool guy. Seen some of the coolest shows of all time, and I'm just lucky that I was able to chat with him. He's a Bay Area dude. I saw him at the Greek Theater, which, by the way, on this episode, I talk about how the Greek Theater is unchanged since 1957. It just went through a massive change. Okay? It went through a huge change. There's a huge change to the lawn that I found out like the day after I interviewed Rob. It's cool. It's definitely functionally a lot better than the old lawn was. But there was a renovation to the Greek Theater. Pretty sizable one recently. And so, little correction there. But thank you for listening to this episode with Rob. Thank you for checking out the Best Show Ever podcast. Like I said, folks, if you're a brand new subscriber, a brand new listener, thanks for checking it out. We've got interviews coming out. We've got more recaps coming up of stuff that I'll be going to. Enjoy the episodes that I've got out right now. There's the recaps. There's all of the different interviews that I've had in this season and seasons prior. So go check those out as well. They're still topical and timely and sick. So go check them out. But until next time, guys, have a great show.